Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about the game against the Pelicans. It should be a lot of fun. Before I get into it, just a reminder to join my Patreon community, patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. Join other NBA fans over there, get some bonus content, join the Slack channel where we talk about the NBA and whatever else around the clock. Patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, the Grizzlies lost to the Pelicans. This was the Grizzlies' 9th loss in a row. That's the longest losing streak Taylor Jenkins has ever had as coach. The Grizzlies scored a season low 87 points. It was the Grizzlies' first loss of the season where they held their opponent to 100 points or fewer. The Grizzlies held the Pelicans to 10 points in the fourth quarter. That, by the way, is the fewest points allowed in a fourth quarter by any team this season. Unfortunately, the Grizzlies only scored 14 points themselves. The fourth quarter was 14-10. Here's a fun fact. This was the first game in 5 seasons where neither team made it to 15 points in the fourth quarter. What a doozy we got to watch. This game featured a pretty big Grizzlies comeback. At one point, they were down by 25 points. I feel like the comeback masks the fact that this, once again, was a pretty horrible performance by the Grizzlies. It was a listless, uninspired, I would say going through the motions game once again. Sure, you had, a solid stretch. All of a sudden, Lamar Stevens and Yuta Watanabe are getting a lot of playing time. Like, Jaren is still scoring. Vince Williams Jr. is passing the ball around. But that basically hides the fact that this was not a good game again. And maybe the Grizzlies just need the All-Star break to kind of break up this losing, to kind of reset their mojo. When the Pelicans stretched the lead out to 25, I think it was 81-56. This was about halfway through the third quarter. Your chosen starters had played most of the minutes up until that point, and you were down 81-56. At that point, the Grizzlies as a team had attempted 35 three-pointers and 17 two-pointers and had 6 free throw attempts and 2 offensive rebounds. Those are not the numbers of a team that's playing very well. It's a massive understatement. For the game, by the way, the Grizzlies had 8 free throw attempts for the second straight game. 8 free throw attempts, 2 straight games. They're the only team in the NBA this season to have consecutive games with 8 or fewer free throw attempts. This was the first time in franchise history they've had consecutive games with under 10 free throw attempts. It was just the 17th time in NBA history a team has gone consecutive games with 8 or fewer free throw attempts. I mean, for me, that's because you're not attacking the basket. You're settling for way too many jumpers. I mean, when the Grizzlies got back in this game, it's air quotes, got back in this game. When the Grizzlies covered and only lost by 9, it's because they started taking it towards the basket. They started shooting in the restricted area. They got in the paint. This team is not a good three-point shooting team. We've had some three-point shooting luck games, and obviously the Grizzlies overall, the three-point numbers are way up since January 1st as far as like the shots going in. But this was yet another game where the Grizzlies took tons of three-pointers, somehow weirdly couldn't rebound any of the misses. They finished the game with 3 offensive rebounds, and the Grizzlies lose. I don't understand the offensive rebounding thing. I know it's a strategy that you're getting back on defense, and offensive rebounding is kind of, it's not in style. It's not in vogue anymore for NBA teams. But I'm still confused, and maybe this is just my own ignorance. I'm still confused how you can miss so many shots and not just accidentally get some of them. This is the Grizzlies' fourth game of the year where they had 3 or fewer offensive rebounds. In all 4 of those games, they took 40 or more three-pointers. In all 4 of those games, they shot a terrible percentage. I understand that you're getting back on defense. Maybe there's a correlation I'm totally missing because I'm mystified by it. Like, if you just got 10% of your misses, you'd have way more offensive rebounds. And by the way, a 10% offensive rebound rate is terrible. That's atrocious. But we're down in the single digits. Like, how can you miss whatever it is, 50 shots and only get 3 of them? Seems weird. Seems like you would accidentally grab some rebounds. So this was a hard watch. Once again, I mean, even if you do impressively hold your opponent to only 10 points in a fourth quarter. Jaren, he did get some rebounds. He got 6. So he snapped it was a 6-game streak of getting 5 or fewer rebounds. Jaren scored 22 points. This was Jaren's 8th consecutive game, scoring 20 or more. That's a career-long streak for him. Vince Williams Jr. had a career-high 9 assists, so that's 3 straight games where Vince has had 8 or more assists. He scored 12 points. By the way, Vince Williams Jr. named to the Rising Stars game. The Grizzlies will have some representation at All-Star Weekend as Vince Williams Jr. is an injury replacement for the Rising Stars game. Congratulations to Vince, a.k.a. The Machine, a.k.a. Bug, a.k.a. V Nasty. Very excited for him. Unfortunately, somewhat comically, him playing in the Rising Stars game on Friday means he has a back-to-back-to-back because the Grizzlies play on Wednesday against the Rockets and on Thursday against the Bucks. And now poor Vince has to play in the Rising Stars game on Friday. But hopefully he has a good time doing that. The other storylines from this game, I think you would highlight that the newest Grizzlies players, Yuta Watanabe and Lamar Stevens, were both in the rotation. Of course, the Grizzlies still dealing with massive injury issues. Still no sign of Jake LaRavia. Still no sign of Zaire Williams. So Yuta and Lamar got the opportunity. They both scored in double digits. Lamar had a season high with 10 points. Lamar led the team with 7 rebounds. Impressive performance, honestly, from Lamar. I really liked what I saw. He was 5 out of 10 from the field. And honestly, I want to say 3 of his misses were when someone passed him the ball with like 4 seconds or 3 seconds left on the shot clock. So he got stuck with the ball in his hands a few times. But my assessment after the trade that I think, based on my impression of him, a limited impression, granted, but based on my impressions of him and looking at the numbers, looking at his stats, he seems like a better David Roddy. And through game 1, he looked like a better David Roddy. So I really liked what I saw from Lamar. Luke Kennard just did what Luke Kennard does, had very little impact on this basketball game. He played 28 minutes. He took 10 shots, impressively, made 4 out of 9 threes. All that's really, really good, but he has to be more assertive. He has to step up. It's his responsibility as an NBA veteran and one of the best players available to actually increase his usage. I know it's okay that like not every player can scale up with more opportunity, do more with it, but like he's basically, in my mind, shirking his responsibility. Like, if you want to argue he knows his role and he stays within his role, okay, I firmly disagree with that assessment. It's not his job to stay within his role. If he stays within his role, he's forcing Lamar Stevens and Yuta Watanabe to have to do way more than they are comfortable with doing. It's Luke's job to step up and do more. Don't give Lamar and Yuta these hand grenade passes at the end of the shot clock. Like, Luke, you got to do something with the ball, man. Maybe Luke's he's in cruise control. It feels like the team's in cruise control. I know we have a better taste in our mouths because of how the final 18 minutes went, but not a lot of effort I feel like is that commendable in this game. Yuta, in his return game to Memphis, he missed 6 out of his 7 3-pointers, but did finish, like I said, in double digits with 11 points, had 2 rebounds. Santi Aldama was a disappointing 2 out of 9 from the field. 8 of his 9 field goal attempts were 3-pointers. Diversify your attack, Santi. He has been moving the ball. He's always a willing passer. Over the last 11 games, he's averaging over 3 assists per game. He had 5 in this one, including a very flashy behind-the-back pass. Once again, we're basically good for 1 real fancy Santi pass per game. Trey Jemison was a force inside, had that incredible block on Jonas Valanciunas. His block rate's been tremendous since he's been playing. I really like his stat line here with 6 points, 5 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and 3 blocks. So like Trey is our newest two-way guy, doing some good stuff. Also playing his former team. Of course, I think he was with the Pelicans in training camp. He was playing for their G League team. The Birmingham Squadron is the Pelicans G League affiliate. So I'm sure he really especially enjoyed getting that block on Jonas. Scottie Pippen Jr. started the game. He left it with injury. He didn't play in the fourth quarter. Hopefully it's not a serious injury. It seems apparent right now the Grizzlies are just alternating Scottie Pippen Jr. games and Jacob Gilyard games. Of course, they're trying to, save some Jacob Gilyard games as he runs out of the regular season games that he can play on that two-way deal. Pippen had 6 points, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds. Conchar only played 15 minutes, as in the second half when the Grizzlies finally went on a run, it was with the bench, and they just left those bench guys in there. I mean, basically, Luke and Yuta and Lamar played, the heavy minutes off the bench, and then Jaren and Vince played heavy minutes with them. I mean, Vince, feel like he needs a break. Unfortunately, it doesn't maybe get one with the All-Star acknowledgement and going to the Rising Stars game, but he's been looking a little bit run down to me. Jaren, I think, is a little bit run down. Maybe you could argue the whole team is run down. And as far as the guys who weren't playing, I still remain mystified a little bit. Where's Jake LaRavia? We're 9 days past when he was supposed to be reevaluated. I mean, they did sign a two-way guy. They did sign a 10-day contract, a new 10-day contract. They signed Jordan Goodwin, who played a lot of games on the Wizards last year. He was in the Bradley Beal trade. I had Suns fans arguing he was going to be a impactful member of the Suns. He was not. But Goodwin joins the Grizzlies on this 10-day, and they get the 10-day because Bane and Smart, and then, of course, Clark and Ja aren't coming back anytime soon, so they're granted another emergency 10-day. Apparently, Jake LaRavia was not part of that 10-day application, so he is expected maybe to play in the next 2 weeks, but we still haven't heard any word exactly when he's going to come back. Zaire missed his 8th straight game with his left hand contusion. His roller coaster on the injury report has been something. Initially, he was doubtful with hand soreness. This is going back to January 29th. He was doubtful with hand soreness. He was out the next game with hand soreness. And then he did 3 games where he was out with a left hand contusion or left hand bone contusion. And now the last 4 games, he's been doubtful. Been doubtful for every one. Still hasn't played. But whatever the reason, now Zaire's missed 8 straight games. And we got to see Zaire play, and we need to see Jake LaRavia play. I mean, we're 18 games under 500. These guys have guaranteed money for next year. They're young. We got to see them play. We got to see what they can do. They seem to always be struggling with injuries. I mean, honestly, Zaire's been basically healthy this whole year, despite, having injury issues in the past. Jake's never been healthy for any extended stretch. But now Zaire going through, again, a soreness, going back and forth between doubtful and out with sorenesses and contusions. And this is stuff that's happened to him before in his career, unfortunately. By the way, here's a random stat. The Grizzlies are winless this year when Zaire Williams doesn't play. He's missed 10 games, including the last 8, and the Grizzlies have lost every one of those games. Also considering the Grizzlies' injury issues and looking at that 10-day signing of Jordan Goodwin, like Goodwin's a combo guard. Like sort of point guard, but like he's a combo guard. Signing a combo guard to your 10-day deal kind of makes me feel like, all right, Derrick Rose isn't playing soon, and Jacob Gilyard is not going to be playing some of these games. I mean, maybe just with Bane and Smart being out, you figure you need some backcourt help, and if you're not going to play Jacob Gilyard every game, you need to have like along with Scottie Pippen Jr., and this way you're not depending on Luke Kennard to play every game, and of course, if Derrick Rose is healthy, good. If not, that's usual. So maybe that's the reason they just needed some more backcourt help. Also, I guess I should have mentioned this earlier. Maybe this is a bigger story amidst this 9-game losing streak. Gigi Jackson did not play against the Pelicans. He was inactive because he violated team rules. He was being punished, wasn't allowed to play. So that's not a great look. It's especially disappointing because Gigi had been playing really, really well. He'd had 2 really nice games in a row. And Gigi, of course, one of the red flags around him during the draft was just his immaturity. And after his career-high game where he had 27 points and 9 rebounds off the bench, he was saying to the media in the locker room, he kind of let slip that earlier in the year, the team had fined him 4 different times for breaking team rules, and he had to meet with Zach Kleiman. And so now him breaking another team rule and getting suspended or whatever, not getting to play in this game, that is obviously far from ideal. And with him having those known issues, whether they're fair or not, the reported reason on why he slid in the draft and why he was available for the Grizzlies to take him halfway through the second round was because of maturity issues. So it's just a concerning thing. Hopefully as a 19-year-old, he gets his affairs in order where he can stay within the team rules. But it's a notable story for Gigi that he did violate some team rule and did not get to play against the Pelicans. Hopefully he bounces back huge with his opportunity to play on the next game as the Grizzlies face the Rockets. Dylan Brooks returned to FedEx Forum on Wednesday. Then, of course, the Bucks game on Thursday. Then it is the All-Star break. This team desperately needs the All-Star break. And with that, I think that is everything. Oh, by the way, one final note. The Grizzlies franchise record for fewest points allowed in a fourth quarter is 7. So they got sort of close to that. They did that back in 2006. Again, held the Pelicans to 10 points in the fourth quarter, and the game never got close. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening. Please subscribe to the Grits and Grinds YouTube channel if you don't already do that. If you want to support this show, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. Get access to the Slack channel and exclusive bonus content. All right. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday. I will talk to you soon. Go Grizz.